The hook of the fishing line sliced through the pre-dawn silence like a confession too long buried, embedding itself in the soft flesh of William's palm as he cast it out over the glassy lake. Blood welled up, dark and insistent against his calloused skin, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he turned to me, Alexander, his eyes locking onto mine with a ferocity that made my heart stutter. "This is it, kid," he whispered, voice gravelly from years of unspoken truths. No turning back now. I'd always known William as the unbreakable shadow to my brother Jake's light. The guy who dragged Jake out of bar fights in our sleepy Indiana town. The one who fixed engines with grease-streaked hands and a laugh that boomed like thunder over cornfields. Jake called him the Rock. But to me, at 19 and fumbling through community college, William was a myth, 32, broad-shouldered, with that perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and eyes like storm clouds over Lake Michigan. He wasn't family, but he might as well have been, showing up for every holiday barbecue with a six-pack and stories from his days hauling freight on the Great Lakes freighters. That summer, Jake had shipped out to basic training for the National Guard, leaving me rattling around our family's creaky Victorian on Elm Street like a ghost in my own life. Mom was buried in her night shifts at the hospital, Dad lost to his armchair and the endless loop of ESPN reruns. I was invisible, or so I thought, until William texted me one muggy July evening. "Hey, Alex. Jake said you'd kill for a real fishing trip. Meet me at dawn. Pack light." No explanation, no room for no. Just the pull of adventure, or maybe something deeper I couldn't name yet. We met at the truck stop on Route 30, the air thick with diesel and fried dough from the all-night diner. William's old Ford F-150 rumbled up, headlights cutting through the haze like accusatory fingers. He leaned out the window, that crooked smile flashing white against his tanned skin. "Hop in. Trouble." Got the worms and the whiskey. I climbed in, heart pounding for reasons I chalked up to nerves. First real solo outing with the man who'd always seemed 10 feet tall. The cab smelled of pine air freshener and leather worn soft by years of solitary drives. As we headed west toward the backwoods of Yellowwood State Forest, he cranked up Springsteen. Thunder Road, blasting as if it were our anthem, and for a moment, I forgot the ache of Jake's absence. The lake was a mirror at first light, ringed by ancient oaks dripping with Spanish moss that whispered secrets in the breeze. William backed the truck to the water's edge, unloading rods and a cooler with the efficiency of a man who'd done this 1,000 times alone. "Jake hates fishing," he said, handing me a pole that felt foreign in my grip. "Says it's too damn quiet. But you got that look, Alex. Like you're starving for it." His words hung there, heavy with subtext I wasn't ready to unpack. We baited hooks in companionable silence, the earthworms wriggling pink and blind between our fingers, and waded into the shallows where the mud sucked at our boots like reluctant lovers. Hours slipped by in the rhythm of casts and reels, the sun climbing lazy and gold. We caught nothing but stories, William spinning yarns about shipwrecks and barroom brawls, me confessing the petty thefts of my teenage rebellion, like the time I'd keyed the principal's car after he outed me to my folks in a misguided intervention. William listened without judgment, his nods slow and deliberate, like he was filing away every word for later. "World's a cruel bastard to guys like us," he murmured once, eyes on the horizon. "But it don't have to win." I laughed it off, blaming the heat, but his gaze lingered, warm and probing, stirring something dormant in my chest. By noon, the bite was on, bass striking fierce and sudden, silver flashes breaking the surface. William hooped like a kid, reeling one in with muscles corded under his faded flannel. He held it up, scales glinting, and for a heartbeat, our eyes met over the thrashing fish, a spark jumping the gap between us. "Your turn, Alex," he said, voice low, and when our hands brushed passing the net, electricity hummed up my arm. I blamed the static from the humid air, but deep down, I knew better. This wasn't just fishing. It was a reckoning, the kind that reshapes shorelines. As the sun dipped toward afternoon, we built a fire on the bank, flames licking at driftwood while we gutted our catch with pocket knives. Blood smeared our hands, mingling with lake water, and William caught my wrist mid-slice. "Easy there," he said, his thumb tracing the vein pulsing under my skin. The touch was casual, or meant to be, but it ignited something feral. I pulled away, mumbling about the knife being dull, but my pulse betrayed me, thundering in my ears. Dinner was simple, foil packets of trout sizzling over coals, washed down with lukewarm beer from the cooler. We talked about Jake, of course, how he'd always been the golden boy, the one who got the parades while William and I skulked in the shadows of our truths. Night fell soft and sudden, stars pricking the velvet sky like accusations. We lay on a threadbare blanket, backs to the cooling earth, passing a flask of bourbon that burned sweet down my throat. William's voice turned confessional in the dark. "Your brother's the only family I got, Alex. Saved me from myself more times than I can count." There was a pause, heavy as the humidity. "But you, Christ, you've been right there, growing up wild and beautiful, and I never said a word." My breath caught, the world tilting. Beautiful? From him? The man who'd wrestled gators in his Navy days, who fixed transmissions blindfolded. I turned my head, silhouetted against the fire's dying glow, and saw the raw hunger in his eyes, a mirror to my own buried longings. That's when it happened. The hook. Not the one in his palm from dawn, but the one that snagged my soul. William rolled toward me, propping on one elbow, his free hand cupping my jaw with a tenderness that shattered me. "I can't do this anymore," he growled, thumb brushing my lower lip. "Pretending you're just Jake's little brother. You're not. You're everything." His mouth crashed down on mine then, bourbon sharp and desperate, tasting of salt and secrets. I froze, then melted, hands fisting in his shirt as the kiss deepened, tongues tangling like lines in a snarl. Fireworks exploded behind my eyelids, but they weren't from the lake, they were us, igniting in the forbidden dark. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together, the world reduced to the thunder of our breaths. "William," I started, but he silenced me with a finger to my lips. "Don't say it. Not yet. Just let me have this." His voice cracked, a fissure in the rock, and in that moment, I saw him, not the myth, but the man, scarred by ex-wives and bar tabs, by a father who called him weak for loving men in a town that hanged queers from barn rafters back in the day. I nodded, pulling him back down, and we lost ourselves in the tangle of limbs and whispers, the lake lapping approval at the shore. But dawn brings clarity, or cruelty. As the sky bled pink, William sat up, raking hands through his hair, regret etching lines around his mouth. "This was a mistake," he muttered, not meeting my eyes. "Jake finds out. It'll kill him. Kill us all." The words landed like gut punches, stealing my breath. Mistake? After the way he'd mapped my body like uncharted waters, after the vows breathed against my skin, I dressed in silence, the blanket twisted like our futures, and drove home with the radio off, the cab echoing with ghosts. Back in town, life resumed its grind, classes at Ivy Tech, shifts slinging burgers at the drive-in. But William haunted me, a text here, a glimpse of his truck there, always with that haunted look. Jake called from Fort Benning, voice crackling over the line. Heard you and we'll had a boys' trip. Good for you, bro. Keep him out of trouble. Irony tasted bitter. Weeks blurred, but the pull grew, magnetic and merciless. One rainy Tuesday, I cornered him at the auto shop, rain sheeting down the tin roof as I demanded answers. What the hell was that night? He wiped grease from his hands, avoiding my gaze. Heat of the moment, Alex. Happens on these trips. Forget it, as if my skin didn't still hum from his touch, as if my dreams weren't reruns of that dockside blaze. Betrayal simmered, not just his retreat, but the lie we both clung to. I stormed out, splashing through puddles that mirrored my fractured reflection, vowing silence. But silence is a fragile dam, and mine cracked the night Jake came home on leave, all buzzcut and bravado, slapping William's back at our backyard cookout. Missed you, man, Jake boomed, oblivious to the current crackling between us. William's eyes flicked to mine over the grill smoke, apology and ache woven tight, and I knew this wasn't over. It was just beginning. The air in our family kitchen hung thick with the scent of charred burgers and unspoken grenades, Jake's laughter booming as he recounted boot camp horrors, mud marches and drill sergeants with voices like chainsaws. William hovered at the grill's edge, flipping patties with mechanical precision, but his glances toward me were daggers, sharp and seeking. I nursed a lukewarm PBR, leaning against the splintered porch rail, pretending the sunset over the cornfields wasn't painting everything in hues of regret. Jake, ever the bridge builder, slung an arm around William's shoulders. Alex tells me you two had a real bonding sesh up at the lake. About time he got out of his shell. William's jaw tightened, a muscle ticking like a countdown. Yeah, he rumbled, I sliding to mine. Taught the kid a thing or two. The double entendre landed like a sucker punch, and I choked on my beer, coughing to cover the flush creeping up my neck. Jake clapped my back, oblivious. See, Will's the best uncle you never had. Uncle. The word twisted like barbed wire in my gut. That night, after Jake crashed on the couch snoring like a freight train, I slipped out to the backyard swing, the chains creaking under my weight as fireflies danced in the humid dark. Footsteps crunched gravel, and there was William, bottle in hand, silhouette broad against the moonlit shed. Can't sleep? He asked, voice a low rumble that vibrated through me. I shrugged, not trusting words. He sat beside me, the swing dipping, our thighs brushing a spark in the powder keg. Alex. About the lake. Don't. I cut him off, anger flaring hot. You don't get to about it. You lit the match, then ran like a coward. His exhale was ragged, pained. It's not that simple. Jake's my brother in all but blood. I've watched over him since we were snot-nosed kids stealing smokes from his old man. If he knew, it'd shatter him. I turned, fireflies mirroring the tears pricking my eyes. And me? What am I? William? Collateral damage? His hand found mine in the dark, rough thumb stroking my knuckles. "You're the goddamn sun, Alex." Blinding me stupid. We kissed again then, slower this time, laced with the desperation of stolen moments. His lips mapped the curve of my neck, hands roaming under my shirt with a reverence that undid me. "I hate this," he murmured against my collarbone. "Hiding like we're crimes." But we were crimes in this town, two fags in flyover country, where rainbow stickers got your tires slashed and love is love was a punchline at the VFW hall. We tumbled into the shadows of the shed, hay bales scratching our backs, breaths mingling in frantic symphony. It was reckless, raw, a middle finger to the stars witnessing our fall. Morning brought the hangover of reality. Jake roused us for breakfast, pancakes stacked high with Mom's maple syrup, chattering about re-enlistment dreams. William shoveled food like it was armor, avoiding my gaze across the formica table. I poked at my plate, stomach churning with the aftertaste of sin. As Jake dragged him off to the lake for a real men's day, William paused at the door, mouthing sorry over his shoulder. Sorry for the pleasure? The pain? I didn't know, but it festered, a bruise blooming under my ribs. Fall semester kicked in like a hangover, leaves turning the campus gold and crimson as I buried myself in psych lectures and late-night cram sessions. William's texts came sporadic. "Miss the water?" or "Jake's asking about you," each one a hook tugging at my resolve. I replied in monosyllables, building walls, but cracks showed in my sketches, charcoal renderings of calloused hands, storm cloud eyes staring back from the page. My roommate, Theo, a wiry art major from Chicago with a nose ring and zero filter, clocked it immediately. "Who's the muse? Straight boy? Or should I say, not so straight?" I deflected with a pillow to his face, but his words lingered, a mirror to the chaos churning inside. Halloween hit Bloomington like a fever dream. Frat parties spilling into streets lined with jack-o'-lanterns, co-eds in fishnets and guys in capes howling at the moon. I dressed as a lumberjack, flannel and axe prop, channeling William without admitting it. Theo dragged me to a warehouse bash on the edge of town, bass thumping through fog machines as bodies writhed under strobe lights. That's where I saw him, or thought I did. A broad-shouldered ghost in the crowd, stubble shadowing his jaw, moving with that deliberate grace. Heart slamming, I pushed through, only to find a stranger, some finance bro from Purdue, who leered and offered a shot. Looking for trouble, Axeman, I bolted to the alley, gulping October air, the rejection a fresh wound. Back in the dorm, buzzed and broken, I dialed William's number, voicemail beeping like judgment. "It's me. Saw someone tonight, thought it was you. Stupid, right? But it's not stopping. This. It's eating me alive." Click. Delete. No. Send. The whoosh echoed in my skull, irreversible as the lake's pull. His reply came at 3 a.m. Meet me. The overpass on 37. Now. Adrenaline surged, chasing away the booze. I grabbed keys, tires screeching as I flew south, rain slicking the windshield like tears. He was there, leaning against his truck under the sodium glow, rain plastering his shirt to his chest. No words, just a collision, his mouth claiming mine with bruising need. We fucked against the truck side, rain mingling with sweat, the highway humming indifference below. It was salvation and damnation, his hands branding me, whispers of mine lost to the storm. After Tangled in the cab with the heater blasting, he traced patterns on my thigh. We can't keep this up. It's poison. But his eyes said the opposite, stormy with want. November brought frost to the fields. Jake's leave extended for Thanksgiving, turkey and tension simmering in Mom's kitchen. William showed with pie from the diner, playing the dutiful friend. But under the table, his boot nudged mine, a secret Morse code. Jake proposed a hike in Brown County, leaves crunching underfoot as we climbed ridges painted in autumn fire. At the summit, wind whipping scarves, Jake slung arms around us both. Best damn family a guy could ask for. William's face crumpled for a split second, masked by a grin, but I felt it, the fracture widening. That night, after pie and football on TV, Jake cornered me in the garage, Pabst in hand. Something's off with Will. He's twitchy, like back in '09 after his divorce. My blood iced. Yeah, maybe he's just tired. Jake's eyes narrowed, brotherly intuition sharp. Or maybe it's you. He asks about you weird, Alex. Like you're more than the kid brother. I laughed it off, heart hammering. But the seed was planted, suspicion sprouting like weeds. Winter gripped tight, snow blanketing the town in hush. I drove to the lake alone one January eve, ice cracking under my boots as I screamed into the void, echoes mocking my isolation. William found me there, somehow truck lights piercing the flurry. Theo called. Said you sounded wrecked. We talked for hours in the cab, engine idling, sharing thermoses of coffee laced with regret. I love him, Alex. Jake. But you're the dream I never deserved. Confession hung, fragile as frost. I leaned in, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of homecoming. But dreams shatter. Valentine's loomed, and Jake planned a surprise, dinner at the Italian joint downtown, candles and Chianti for the Three Musketeers. William begged off with a lie about work, but I knew cowardice cloaking care. At the restaurant, over veal parm, Jake's mood soured. Will's been distant. You notice? I nodded, fork scraping plate. Maybe he's seeing someone. Jake's laugh was hollow. Him? Nah. But if he is, hope she's worth it. The irony choked me. Post-dinner, buzzed on wine, Jake stumbled into a bar tab with Old Navy pals, leaving me to drive him home. In the truck's glow, he slurred truths. Will saved my ass in Afghanistan. You know? Took a bullet meant for me. Hero worship laced his words, guilt twisting mine. Dropping him at the door, I lingered, porch light haloing his silhouette. Love you, bro, he mumbled, hugging tight. Keep Will close. He's gold. February thawed into mud season, and with it, the inevitable storm. I caught William at the shop, tools clanging as he bent over an engine block. We need to end this, I said, voice steel despite the tremor. His wrench slipped, clattering. Alex, no. Before Jake finds out and it destroys everything. Tears burned, but resolve held. He pulled me into the office, door slamming, and we clung like shipwreck survivors, kisses fierce with finality. I'll always, he started, but sirens wailed outside, cops hauling in a drunk, lights flashing chaos. Spring bloomed treacherous, dogwoods unfurling pink against the gray of my unraveling. Jake re-enlisted full-time, shipping to Fort Bragg, hugs goodbye tear-streaked at the Greyhound station. Watch each other, he charged. Eyes fierce. William nodded, arm around my shoulders, a lie we wore like skin. Alone after, we drove to the lake. One last pilgrimage. The water lapped gentle, mocking our turmoil. What now? I whispered, head on his chest. Survive, he replied, voice breaking. And remember, but memory is a thief. Summer returned, heat waves warping the air, and with it, the call that cracked the world. Jake, wounded in a training accident, shrapnel in his leg, medevac to Walter Reed. William and I flew east, economy seats squeezing us close, hands brushing in turbulence. At the hospital, beeps and bleach assaulted us, Jake pale but grinning through morphine haze. Told you I'd go out swinging. We flanked his bed, a united front, but under the sheets, William's fingers laced mine, defiance in the sterile light. Recovery dragged, weeks in DC blurring into a limbo of waiting rooms and vending machine coffee. Jake mended slow, physical therapy a grind, but his spirit, unbreakable. William played nurse, fetching magazines and cracking jokes, while I handled the bureaucracy, insurance forms and VA calls that made my head spin. Nights, we'd collapse in a motel off Georgia Avenue, bodies entwining in exhaustion-fueled frenzy, whispers of forever against sweat-damp skin. This changes nothing, William murmured one dawn, tracing my spine. And everything, May in DC. Sweltered like a fever, cherry blossoms long shed, leaving sidewalks sticky with promise and pollen. Jake's rehab ward overlooked the Potomac, a ribbon of brown snaking through the city's concrete veins, and from his window, we'd watch joggers and tourists blurring into anonymity. Hate this cage, Jake grumbled one afternoon, crutches propped like sentinels, sweat beading on his buzzed scalp. William squeezed his shoulder, that rock-steady grip. You're tougher than this, man. Remember Cobble? You dragged my ass 2 clicks with a busted ankle. Jake chuckled, wincing. Yeah, well, who's dragging who now? I lingered in the hallway, eavesdropping on their brotherhood, a voyeur to the bond that both anchored and anchored us. Guilt gnawed deeper each day, every stolen glance between William and me a betrayal etched in Jake's trusting eyes. That evening, as rain lashed the Capitol's domes, we 3 hunkered in the cafeteria, plastic trays of Salisbury steak steaming under fluorescence. Jake speared a pea, eyeing us. You two been weird since the lake trip. Spill. My fork froze midair, heart jackhammering. William's laugh boomed, deflecting like a pro. Kid here's just city shy. Thinks every suit's a Fed. Jake bought it, for now, but suspicion simmered in his squint. Nights in the motel were our fragile sanctuary, peeling wallpaper and a bed that sagged like old regrets. William's body was my map, scars from shrapnel and surgeries telling tales under my fingertips. Tell me about her, I whispered once, post-climax haze, tracing a puckered line on his ribs. The ex who gutted you, he stiffened, then softened, bourbon breath warm on my neck. Laura. High school sweetheart, thought she could fix me. Caught me with a guy from the docks. Threw my shit in the lake. His chuckle was bitter. Said I was broken. Maybe she was right. I kissed the scar. Fierce. You're whole to me. June brought discharge papers. Jake hobbling onto a flight home with promises of outpatient hell. William stayed on for loose ends. But we both knew. It was for us, this borrowed time in a city that didn't care. We wandered the mall like tourists, hands brushing in crowds, the Lincoln Memorial looming solemn as our secrets. At the Vietnam Wall, names etched black, William traced a panel, voice thick. Lost buddies there. Vowed I'd live honest for 'em. Irony twisted my gut, our dishonesty a mockery. That night, in a rowhouse Airbnb with creaky floors, we made love slow and deliberate, candles flickering shadows on brick walls. I love you, he said, unprompted, the words a grenade in the quiet. I echoed it, tasting truth and terror. Back in Indiana, summer's grip tightened, fireflies winking like conspirators in the fields. Jake settled into home therapy, Mom hovering like a hawk, Dad grumbling about war heroes getting soft. William and I danced a dangerous waltz. Afternoons at the shop under pretense of helping. Stolen hours in the back room where tools gathered dust. But Jake's eyes sharpened, questions probing like scalpels. You're spending a lot of time together, he noted over beers on the porch, swing creaking. Like more than brothers, William's grip whitened on his bottle. Jealous, lightweight, Alex here's family. Jake's laugh hid the edge. Damn right. Just don't fuck it up. August burned hot. County fair in full swing. Carnies hawking cotton candy and rides that groaned like our consciences. Jake insisted on the triple date. Him with a nurse from rehab. Sarah. All freckles and fortitude. Me with Theo. Dragged in as cover. His eyeliner smudged and attitude intact. William Stagg. Nursing a funnel cake like it owed him money. The Ferris wheel trapped us in pairs. Jake and Sarah cooing below. Theo and I swaying awkward. Your uncle keeps fucking you, Theo stage whispered, smirking. Spill the tea, or I'll hex your ass. I shoved him, cheeks flaming, but the seed of exposure sprouted fear. Midway through the demolition derby, dust clouds billowing from crashing cars, William pulled me behind the grandstand, lips crashing urgent. Can't breathe without you, he growled, hands fisting my shirt. We rutted against splintered wood, the roar of engines drowning our moans, adrenaline spiking the release. But as we straightened clothes, Jake rounded the corner, flashlight from his phone cutting the gloom. There you are. Crowds thinning. His beam lingered on our flushed faces, the air thick with unspoken. Everything good? William clapped his back, voice steady. Prime. Just grabbing smokes. Jake nodded slow, but doubt clouded his eyes. Labor Day weekend sealed the fracture. Jake organized a victory bash at the lake, bonfire, burgers, a cooler of domestics for the old crew from high school. William arrived last, truck kicking gravel, and the sight of him in board shorts and a tank, muscles bronzed from yard work, hit me like a rogue wave. I busied myself with skewers, but his presence pulled, magnetic. As dusk fell, flames leaping high, Jake raised a toast, to surviving, and to family, the ones that stick. Eyes met across the fire, mine, William's, Jake's, a triangle teetering. Later, as embers glowed, Jake wandered off for a piss, leaving William and me in charged silence. This ends tonight, I hissed, panic rising. Before it blows, he reached for me, desperate. Can't. You're in my blood. Our kiss was firelit frenzy. Hands greedy, until twigs snapped, Jake, returning early, face ashen in the flicker. He froze, beer slipping from his fingers to foam on the dirt. What the fuck? The world imploded. Time stretched elastic. Jake's betrayal blooming slow then explosive. My best friend? My brother. His voice cracked, fists clenching. William stepped forward, shield raised. Jake. Listen. No. How long? Jake roared, eyes wild. I stammered. Since the lake. Truth ablade. Hurt flashed raw on Jake's face. Then fury. You son of a bitch. He lunged at William, punches flying sloppy with shock. I dove between, taking an elbow to the ribs. Wind knocked out. They grappled, grunts and curses, until Sarah pulled Jake back, sobbing. Stop. This ain't you. The fire party dispersed in whispers, tires spinning mud as folks fled the drama. Jake stormed to his truck, peeling out with a spray of stones that pelted like accusations. William slumped by the flames, head in hands. Ruined it. All of it. I knelt, touching his shoulder, but he flinched. Don't. This is on me. Rain started then, hissing on coals, washing away the evidence but not the stain. We drove home separate, the cab between us vast as the rift. Days blurred into fallout. Jake ghosted, radio silence from his room, door barricaded. Mom's worried glances, Dad's gruff boys'll be boys. I banged on the wood one midnight, voice breaking. Talk to me, Jake. Please. A muffled fuck off was all, laced with sobs that mirrored mine. William holed up at the shop, calls unanswered, texts unread. Theo became my lifeline, dragging me to dive bars where cheap whiskey dulled the edges. Betrayal's a bitch, he toasted. But love, that's the real killer. September's chill crept in, leaves falling like confetti from a funeral. Jake emerged gaunt, eyes hollowed by rage and rumination. Over lukewarm coffee at the diner, he faced me. Why him? Of all people. I choked on truth. Didn't plan it. Just happened. Like breathing, he scoffed, pain etching deeper. Breathing? That's what you call stabbing me. Accusations flew, selfish, deceptive until he softened, fractionally. Will's like a dad to me. Was. The past tense gutted. Reconciliation with William fractured further. He showed at the house unannounced, duffel in hand. Gonna crash with my cousin in Gary. Need space. Jake intercepted, door slamming in his face. Don't you dare. But I slipped out, finding him at the truck. Rain slicked and shattered. Fight for us? I begged, clutching his shirt. He cupped my face, tears mingling. Can't fight what's broken. Jake's right. I'm poison. His kiss was goodbye, salty with finality, truck taillights fading into the storm. Autumn deepened the wounds, campus a blur of midterms and melancholy. Jake and I tiptoed around eggshells, conversations clipped but civil, football scores, weather reports. One crisp Saturday, hiking the state forest trails, he cracked, miss him, you know. Will. Even after. Everything. I nodded, throat tight. Me too. Leaves crunched underfoot. A fragile truce forming in the quiet. Halloween echoed last year's ghosts. But Theo's bash was antidote. Costumed chaos in a Victorian haunted by fake cobwebs. Dressed as a vampire, fangs glinting, I lost myself in the throng, shots burning away the ache. A drag queen in sequins pulled me to the dance floor, hips grinding playful, but my mind wandered to William's sway. Dawn found me on the curb, puking regret, Theo's arm steady. Call him, he urged. I did, voicemail swallowing my slurred I miss you. November's barren trees stripped illusions. Thanksgiving a tense tableau. Mom's turkey dry as the silences. Jake carved with mechanical precision, passing plates like peace offerings. Dad rambled about Packers games, oblivious. Under the table, Jake's foot nudged mine. Not Morse, but bridge. Heard from Will, he murmured later, washing dishes side by side. I shook my head. Radio silence. Jake sighed. Suds dripping. Town feels empty without him. Winter solstice brought the turning. A package arrived. Williams, forwarded from Gary. Flannel shirt smelling of pine and him. A note scrawled, keep warm. Think of the lake. Jake found me crying over it in the attic. Boxes of Christmas lights tangled like our lives. He sat, awkward. Love's a bastard. Ha! For the first time. He listened, not judged, as I spilled the timeline. The heat, the heartbreak. Should have told me sooner, he said, hugging fierce. We're blood, Alex. That trumps everything. December's frost etched patterns on windows like lace veils over secrets. The town hunkering under a blanket of snow that muffled sins and sorrows alike. Jake's forgiveness was a slow thaw, not absolution, but understanding, forged in late-night talks by the fireplace, logs popping like punctuation to our confessions. I get it, he admitted one eve, nursing a cider as ornaments twinkled on the tree. Will's always been larger than life. Sucks you in. I nodded, bauble in hand, the glass sphere reflecting our fractured trio. Doesn't make it hurt less. He clinked my mug. Nah. But we'll heal. Soldiers do. Christmas morning dawned brittle. Gifts wrapped in yesterday's newsprint. Mom's fruitcake sat heavy. Dad's socks practical as his advice. Jake handed me a box, small, wrapped in camo paper. Inside, a locket with Jake's dog tags miniaturized. Engraved brothers forever. For when doubt creeps, he said, voice gruff. Tears pricked. I fastened it, metal cool against skin. William's absence loomed largest, no card, no call. But his flannel became my talisman, draped over chairbacks like a ghost lingering. New Year's Eve found us at the VFW hall. Balloons sagging under smoke from cheap cigars. A cover band mangling Auld Lang Syne. Jake danced with Sarah, his limp fading into rhythm, while I nursed a ginger ale at the bar, watching couples sway. Theo texted from Chicago, get laid or get over it. Easier said. Midnight struck, confetti raining, and in the crush, a hand grazed my waist. Familiar, electric. William, disheveled from the drive, eyes bloodshot. Couldn't stay away. We slipped to the alley. New Year birthing in a kiss that tasted of champagne and second chances. He'd been adrift in Gary, odd jobs at the steel mill, nights in dive bars chasing numbness. Thought distance would kill it, he confessed. Back to the brick wall, my hands in his hair. But you're cancer, Alex. The good kind. We tumbled into his truck, parked crooked, windows fogging as we reclaimed each other, slow, savoring, the countdown echoes fading. After, tangled in seats, he traced my locket. Jake, know you're here? I shook my head. Truce is fragile. His sigh ruffled my hair. Then let's not break it. Not yet. January's grip was iron, ice storms glazing roads like shattered glass. William rented a trailer on the outskirts, a tin box with a wood stove that smoked defiance. We met there in shadows, me sneaking after shifts, him waiting with stew simmering and stories spun. "Remember the freighters?" he'd say, pulling me to the futon, body heat chasing chill. Waves tall as houses, but nothing scared me like loving you. Intimacy deepened, not just flesh but souls, nights debating Kerouac over whiskey, his head in my lap as I read aloud, voice weaving dreams. But Jake's radar pinged. Over pancakes one Sunday, syrup sticky, he probed, "You seem lighter." Seeing someone, fork paused. I deflected, just focusing on school. His eyes narrowed. "Brotherly. If it's will. Tell me straight." Panic spiked. I bolted to the bathroom, splashing water, mirror fogging with lies. That afternoon, at the trailer, William held me post-love, sensing the storm. Ends coming. Brace. We drove to the lake anyway, ice fishing holes drilled like eyes watching. Under the shanty's canvas, bundled in quilts, we whispered futures, maybe Portland, rain-soaked and queer-friendly, escaping the heartland's chokehold. February's Valentine's was velvet-trapped, Jake's dinner invite, candlelit at home, Sarah beaming with pie. William crashed uninvited, bearing chocolates and a grin masking nerves. Heard there was room for one more. Jake's jaw tightened, but he pulled a chair, tension crackling like static. Over lasagna, talk turned to dreams, Jake's PT progress, Sarah's nursing tales. William's hand found mine under the table, thumb circling claim and comfort. Jake caught the brush, fork clattering. God damn it. Silence imploded. Accusations erupted. Still, after everything, Jake's face reddened, veins bulging. William rose, calm as lake glass. "Yeah, still. Love him, Jake. Can't switch it off." Betrayal's knife twisted anew. Jake's eyes on me, wounded. "You chose this? Over us?" I stood, voice steady for once. "Not over. With. You're my brother, always. But this is me." Sarah tugged Jake's sleeve, mediating, but fury won. He shoved back from the table, chair scraping. "Family's a joke. Enjoy your scraps." Door slammed, tires squealed, echoes of last summer. William and I clean shards, literal from a dropped plate, figurative in tears. "He'll come around," he soothed, sweeping glass. But doubt gnawed. Jake's silence stretched. Texts unread. Calls to voicemail. Spring equinox brought buds and burdens. I moved into the trailer part-time. Duffel slung. Mom's worried, be safe trailing. Campus buzzed with thaw. But my world narrowed to William's orbit. Mornings tangled in sheets. Coffee brewing as he sketched truck mods on napkins. April showers flooded the lowlands, creeks swelling like grudges. Jake's first outreach was a postcard from rehab camp in Kentucky. "Healing hurts. Miss you both." Jay crumpled then smoothed. It sat on the fridge like a talisman. William traced the script. "Kids got heart." We drove south unannounced. Mud roads sucking at tires. Finding Jake at a trailhead. Crutches ditched. Hiking solo. "What the hell?" he barked, but hugged fierce. Bones sharp under flannel. Over camp coffee. Walls crumbled. "Hate how it hurts. But happy for you? Kinda." Truce 2.0. Tentative as new leaves. May bloomed reconciliation. Jake crashing trailer nights. Beers around a fire pit. Stories looping like vinyl grooves. Remember the time Will hooked that garpike? Jake laughed. Marshmallow toasting. William's arms slung casual over my shoulders. Jake's gnawed approval. But undercurrents swirled. One drunk eve, Jake confessed, "Scared I'll lose you both." William's grip tightened. "Never, man. Promise." June's heat wave baked the earth. County pool crowded with splashes and sunscreen. We three-dove in cannonballs and races, Jake's leg holding strong. Towels draped. William's kiss stolen behind the bathhouse. Quick and quenching. Jake caught the afterglow, smirking. Get a room. Lovebirds. Progress. Bittersweet. July 4th exploded fireworks over the fairgrounds. Red, white, blue booms mirroring my pulse. Jake barbecued, Sarah by his side. Crowds cheering as we watched from a blanket. William's hand in mine, hidden in grass, public yet private. Midnight, under starfire, he proposed not ring, but words, "Move with me." After Jake settled. Start fresh. Heart soared, but caution clipped wings. Chicago or bust? August dog days dragged. Harvest moon rising fat. Jake shipped to a desk job at the Pentagon. Promotion laced with pride. Send off at the airport. Hugs crushing. Jake's whisper. Take care of each other. That's family. Tears flowed free. Gates swallowing him. Fall semester loomed, but freedom beckoned. William and I packed the trailer boxes of books. His tools, my sketches, heading north to a Gary sublet. Bridge to bigger. Last lake stop. Sunset gilding water. Hooks idle. Full circle, William murmured. Arms around me. I leaned back. Content. Better ending, but life scripts twists. En route. Phone buzzed. Jake. Accident on I-95. Shrapnel flare-up. Walter Reed again. Dieter South. Heart sinking. At the ER. Monitors beeping. Jake grinned through pain. Timing. Ha! We flanked him. Hands linked over the rail. A triangle mended. October's colors peaked. Rehab round 2 grinding. William and I rotated shifts. Motel nights, brief respites. This life's interruptions, he joked, massaging my knotted shoulders. But love deepened in the forge. Vows renewed in vending glows. Futures sketched on napkins. November elections buzzed. Trump signs clashing with rainbows in town squares. We voted absentee. Jake's ballot mailed from bed. Change coming, he predicted, eyes bright. For guys like us, Thanksgiving in the ward, cafeteria turkey. Us 3 crammed at a table, Sarah zooming in. Toasts to survival, laughter bubbling. Jake's hand covered ours. Grateful. For this mess, December closed the circle. Jake discharged. Hobbling home for holidays. Trailer empty. We crashed at the family Victorian. Tree aglow. Christmas Eve. Fire crackling. William knelt. Ring this time. Simple silver. Marry me, Alex. Make it legal. Loud. Jake hooped from the couch. About damn time. Yes, tumbled out. Tears joys. January 2026 dawned crisp. Resolutions whispered over black coffee as snow dusted the eaves like powdered sugar on fate's donut. The ring weighed light on my finger. Promise etched in alloy. But wedding plans loomed heavy, venue hunts in Bloomington's chapels, wary of Heartland stares. Jake, leg braced but spirit unbowed, played best man in waiting, scouting barns with rustic charm that smelled of hay and hope. Gotta top the drama, he teased over burgers at the drive-in, ketchup packets bursting like confetti. William's laugh rumbled, hand squeezing mine under the dash. As long as you're there, it's perfect. Spring semester swallowed me. Psych electives delving into attachment theory. Irony thick as textbooks. William commuted to a mechanic gig in Indianapolis. Grease under nails but eyes clear of ghosts. Nights, we'd collapse in the trailer. Now ours permanent. Take-out containers and tangled sheets mapping domestic bliss. Normal's underrated, he'd murmur, kissing freckles on my shoulder, the word husband testing on tongues like fine scotch. But normal's a myth in queer America, fractures hiding under facades. Easter brought mom's ham and dad's awkward congrats, son, laced with the discomfort of a man who'd buried his own curiosities in the 70s oil fields. Jake bridged, toasting with grape juice, to love that fights back. Sarah, ringed now herself, beamed plans. Double wedding? Laughter eased tensions. But William's grip tightened, sensing undercurrents. April showers birthed May flowers and migraines. Guest lists ballooning. Aunties clucking about lifestyle choices. A cousin's email stung. Can't make it. Prayers for guidance. Deletion didn't dull the barb. William found me on the porch swing. Rain pattering. Their loss, he growled, pulling me close. We made love in the downpour. Porch boards creaking. Water sluicing skin reclamation. Raw and renewing. June's solstice wedding weekend scorched. The old mill by the White River decked in wildflowers and white tents. Fairy lights strung like stars reclaimed. Jake stood tall beside William, tucks sharp, delivering vows with gravel voice. You've been my rock since diapers. Now be his anchor. Tears traced my cheeks as I faced William, his eyes ocean deep. From that first cast, he said, voice steady, you hooked me. Forever. Rings exchanged. Kiss ceiling, crowd erupting. Jake's whoop loudest. Honeymoon was a road trip west. Route 66 unspooling under tires. Motels in Missouri with neon buzz. Grand Canyon sunsets painting us bronze. In a Flagstaff cabin, pine-scented, we shed suits for skin, bodies knowing each other biblical. This is us, William whispered at dawn, canyon yawning vast. Unbreakable, I traced his scars, old and new. Even the breaks make the whole. July's heat returned east. Married life a honeymoon phase stretched. Morning runs along the Monon Trail. Evenings grilling on the trailer's deck. Jake and Sarah dropping by with brews and baby bumps announced casual over corn on the cob. Uncle Alex, Jake grinned, hand on her belly. Get ready for chaos. Laughter flowed easy. Family reforged in fire's aftermath. August's back-to-school bustle hit. But a shadow crept. William's cough, dry and persistent, blamed on pollen. Cough drops in the console, tea steeped nightly. Doc says allergies, he shrugged at my fussing. But September's scan at IU Health revealed the thief lung cancer. Stage 2. Shadows on x-rays like accusations. From the mill fumes, the oncologist droned. Pamphlets flapping like white flags. William's face paled, but his hand crushed mine. We'll fight. Fall semester blurred into chemo runs. William's hair shedding like autumn leaves. My notes frantic between classes. Jake rallied, driving carpools to Indy, Sarah packing care kits with ginger chews and crosswords. Not going down without a swing, William joked, bald pate gleaming under ball caps. But nights, he'd curl into me, vulnerability cracking the rock. Scared, Alex, of leaving you, I'd hold him, heartbeat duet. Not happening. We're in this. November's elections swung wild, headlines screaming division. But our bubble held. Thanksgiving at the house. Tubes snaking William's arm for fluids, but pie devoured with gusto. Jake carved turkey one-handed, Mom's eyes misty. Stronger together, Dad grunted, raising glass, his concession to progress. December's chemo crescendoed, holidays hushed. Christmas lights twinkled defiant, tree trimmed with locket and tags. William, frail but fierce, knelt again, this time for strength, not proposal. Mary, babe, he rasped, gift a leather-bound journal, for our stories. Pages filled later with chemo logs and love letters, ink smudged by tears. January 2027 tested vows. Remission flickered false hope. Then metastasis clawed back, bones brittle as winter twigs. Hospice whispers intruded, but William raged gentle. Not done loving you. Jake and I tag-teamed nights, stories spinning to drown pain, lake trips, first kisses, wedding dances. Best mistake I ever made. He winked at me, Jake chuckling wet-eyed. February's thaw came internal. William's hand in mine, monitors beeping lullaby. Tell Jake. Thanks. For everything. His breath hitched, eyes locking mine. You, my son. Always. Last kiss. Feather light. Then release. Dawn breaking over the room. Light pooling gold. Grief's wake was tidal. Funeral at the VFW. Flags folded sharp. Eulogies cracking voices. Jake's. He was family. Saved us all. I scattered ashes at the lake. Hook's blood mingled with water, whispering speechless still. Spring bloomed, dogwoods defiant. Summer healed incremental. Jake's baby girl born July, tiny fists waving, named Willow for the trees that bent but didn't break. I held her, Uncle fierce, William's locket glinting. Fall classes resumed. Journal entries shifting to gratitude. 1 year without, but with him always. By November's harvest moon, peace settled. A new man, tentative, met at a queer-lit reading in Bloomington. Eyes kind over dog-eared Ginsberg. Jake vetted with beers. He treats you right? Nod yes. Heart roomy now. December closed the year. Light strung. Willow cooing at baubles. At the lake, alone with ghosts, I cast a line, hook gleaming. No blood. Water rippled, carrying whispers. Love's not speechless, but eloquent in endings that birth beginnings. Human, messy, American as apple pie and backroad blues. In the end, betrayal's sting faded to scar, tender, teaching. We mended, not perfect, but whole. And in the quiet casts of dawn, William's voice echoed, no turning back. Grateful, I reeled in the day, line taut with tomorrow.